Is there more to midlife than just getting through it? Absolutely. Welcome. I'm your host, Debbie Cunningham, jazz artist turned midlife mentor, and I'm here to say to you loud and clear, it's time for your Midlife Crescendo. Hey friends, welcome back. Today on Midlife Crescendo, we are talking about gratitude, Thanksgiving, and the subject of hospitality. Thanksgiving is this week in America. Christmas and New Year's are just a month away. This is the busiest time of year for most of us midlife women. We may love all the hoopla of hospitality, but sometimes the way we go about it can actually backfire. Later in the show, I'm going to share a personal story when my hospitality backfired and how I had to change the situation. But first, I want to start by sharing something I'm grateful for this week. All of you listening to this podcast. It was 10 months ago that I dove into podcasting as a way to encourage midlife women. In this process, I have found myself being encouraged by many of you who have contacted me with kind words to say about the show and how you are finding inspiration for your midlife season. So, not to sound like a cliche, but thanks for listening. Okay, Thanksgiving in America traces its origins to the early 17th century. Most of you are familiar with this story. The first widely recognized Thanksgiving celebration occurred in 1621 when English pilgrims at Plymouth Colony shared a harvest feast with the Wampanoag people. This event marked a celebration of survival and gratitude after the pilgrims endured a harsh winter and benefited from the Wampanoag assistance in cultivating crops and hunting. So let's take a pause right there. There are two things I'd like to point out in this story thus far. Two people groups who obviously have different backgrounds, ethnicity, are sharing a meal together. I'm guessing they had very different lifestyles, opinions, and ways of doing things. Yet, they came together, broke bread, and ate a meal with thankful hearts for their survival and mutual collaboration. The Pilgrims had lost a lot of people that previous winter. There were many difficulties about starting a new colony. What you may not know is the Wampanoag sought allies to help defend themselves against rival, brutalistic tribes. The Pilgrims provided that. In return, the Pilgrims, struggling to survive, gained critical knowledge about agriculture, fishing, and hunting from the Wampanoag. They both had difficulties, great losses, and life was not easy by any stretch. But they chose to pause together and thank God for what they did have. Now, Thanksgiving became more formalized in American culture over the centuries. Various colonies and states observed days of thanks, but it wasn't until 1863, during the Civil War, that President Abraham Lincoln proclaimed a national Thanksgiving Day. He called on the country to set aside the last Thursday in November for gratitude and reflection, uniting the tradition across the nation. In 1941, Congress passed a resolution establishing the fourth Thursday in November as the official national holiday, ensuring its annual celebration. Today, Thanksgiving emphasizes family or friendship gatherings, feasting, and expressing gratitude. And for those of you that are hosting, there's another element, hospitality. And that's what we are discussing in our next segment. So last week, we talked briefly about hosting occasions on the podcast. But this week, I want to pivot to maybe redefine what hospitality can look like. Are you the hostess with the mostest these days? The definition of hospitality is the friendly and generous reception and entertainment of guests, visitors, or strangers. But sometimes we women feel the pressure to do it all. A few weeks ago, I was hosting several family members after my nephew's wedding. One particular afternoon, I thought I was doing the right thing to honor my guests by declining her offer to help. I wanted to serve her and allow her to relax and unwind. Upon reflection and honestly God's conviction, I realized I robbed her the joy of shared connection. I felt terrible. She does a lot serving others in her day-to-day life, and I thought I was giving her a gift to relax. But sometimes we think we know what someone else will want, and we put our own ideas or desires on them. However, if someone doesn't enjoy sitting and relaxing, but finds the kitchen frenzy fun or energizing, then we are robbing them of the true gift we can offer. In reverse, if we are offering service to someone and they don't want our help, we also need to honor their wishes as well. Forcing our ideas of what we think is best on anyone else isn't loving or kind. So we have to find the balance. There's a lot of societal pressure to do it all and make everything perfect. I've learned the hard way this is not the case. Fortunately, I did realize it a bit later in the evening and enlisted her help in other ways. Most of the time, people feel valued by being included. And as soon as I asked her if she wanted to do this other thing, a smile came across her face and she felt included and excited. So how can we rethink hospitality to make it more joyful for everyone as you go into this holiday season? Well, let's redefine hospitality, shall we? How about hospitality is creating a welcome, inclusive space rather than a polished solo performance? I know I'm guilty of this all the time. But how do we identify a guest preference? Maybe instead of deciding what would make them feel relaxed and comfortable, we could simply ask them a question. How about, would you like to join me in the kitchen, or do you prefer to sit and unwind? Either is perfectly fine. This approach allows your guests to choose what brings them joy. It fosters a deep connection through teamwork and conversation, and it also allows guests to feel valued and part of the experience. It also reduces the host's workload, making the event less stressful for you. Okay, so let's talk about practical ideas for sharing tasks, though, because sometimes that's hard in your own kitchen. So decide ahead of time what kind of tasks you don't mind sharing. Chopping veggies, plating desserts, choosing what background music is on. It's up to you, setting the table. You decide what you want to share, and then you have a list in your mind if somebody actually wants to help you. And don't feel bad about receiving their help. Okay, so lastly, though, let's talk about hospitality and cleanup. Most hostesses I know don't want to do all the cleanup themselves. Cleaning up is not just for women. It can be a fun, collaborative experience for the whole family rather than a dreaded task. But ladies, sometimes we just take it upon ourselves and we don't ask for everyone to pitch in. If you are a guest, may I be so bold as to encourage you to at least offer to take care of your own dishes into the kitchen, dishwasher, or wherever the hostess would like them. Even if you're family, if you're an adult daughter, or if you're a sister or an aunt or a cousin, don't expect the hostess to do all the stuff. If she declines, fine, but family members can always offer to help. Now, if you're the hostess, here are some creative and enjoyable ways to enlist help while keeping the mood light and joyful. Number 1, turn it into a game. Use a timer. Set a 5-minute timer and challenge everyone to see how much they can clean up or do before it buzzes. People love a quick challenge, and it makes the work feel less daunting. When my kids were young, we used to set the timer for 10 minutes and did a 10-minute speedy cleaning. Many hands make lighter the load, and we usually got most of the work done quickly because there was a focused goal at hand. Okay, number 2, play music and make it a dance party. Put on a lively playlist with everyone's favorite holiday tunes or nostalgic throwbacks, depending on your crowd. Guests can clean while grooving and making it feel more like a celebration than a chore. Bonus, you can award a small prize for the best dance moves while cleaning. I think my 5-year-old grandson would win that one. Number 3, create a pick your job board. Why don't you write down some cleanup tasks on a slip of paper or a chalkboard and then let your guests choose what they'd like to do? Tasks could range from plating desserts to stacking plates to wiping the counters, resetting the table for dessert time. People love having the freedom to choose a task they enjoy, and they find it less tedious. Number 4, make it a team effort. Pair up guests and assign them small, manageable zones. Like Team 1 can tidy up the table and chairs. Team 2 can wipe down the kitchen counters. Working together makes the task feel lighter and encourages connection between the pairs. Or, lastly, number 5, you can offer a sweet incentive, one of my favorites with the grandkids. End the evening with a reward for the helpers. Something like, okay, the cleanup crew gets first dibs on the dessert bar, or once the kitchen is sparkling, we'll gather for a round of hot cocoa or mulled wine by the fire. This keeps the mood light and motivates everyone to pitch in so no one has to do it all. I know that the holidays aren't always a joyful occasion. There are missed loved ones, loneliness, and miles that separate us from those we love. But I'm praying this year that you will find joy in being able to gather with someone you care for. And my guess is that you will have people around your Thanksgiving table that may have different opinions and ways of doing things, just like that first colony. This year, whether you celebrate Thanksgiving with family or Friendsgiving with a few close friends, my prayer is that we can offer a welcoming table to give thanks for what we do have, instead of focusing on everything that we may have lost through the years. I'll end with one of my favorite quotes. It is not happy people who are grateful. It is grateful people who are happy. So may your Thanksgiving be filled with abundant gratitude and happiness that flows from that. In the coming weeks, we'll be discussing Hashimoto's and thyroid issues and other midlife topics as we wind down the year. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in today, and remember, midlife is just a brand new season to find your passion and purpose for your grand finale. Talk next week.